Hello and welcome to my channel. And in this talk, I am going to discuss about Mahabharata and what I imply from it. It's an extremely long poem, the biggest ever, and it was written in a time where there were a lot of ascetics, there was Jainism, and there were people who were doing great penance to find God. There were religious texts who had monks who had taken vows of celibacy for their lifetime, those that were renouncing food, that were renouncing everything. And what I believe is that Mahabharata tries to convey that life is colorful. Life has like all the various notes of a piano. If you cut out some notes, if you cut out some notes and if you just play some notes, it is not going to be a full rainbow of colors, a full rainbow of sounds. It's going to be a very cut down version where there is no guarantee that a person on such path is going to find God. So in my videos, if you listen, you find the Vedas, the various Vedas which I have talked about, and in those times, people were more concerned about winning. So, what I perceive is that Vedas was filled of all the techniques on how to win in life, and then when Jainism came, when restraint, when renunciation started to be taught to people, and then it changed the outlook of people. And then Vyasa is trying to convey his wisdom to the common man as the real enemy is not outside what needs to be won, because the outside enemies are a projection from the inside enemies which remain inside the mind. Those inside enemies are giving rise to the outside enemies. So if even if you manage to kill some outside enemies, then new enemies will take their place, because ultimately it's a projection. Ultimately the enemies are coming into the reality as a projection of the inside enemies or inside vices. For example, greed, for example, anger, for example, impatience, for example, lack of self control. Okay, then narrow mindedness, not taking action. So, all of these inside enemies which are there, they start taking the form and becoming outside enemies. So this would also impress upon the kings. This poem would also impress upon the princes who were to become kings, and they would understand that what they should not do. They should not let anger control their mind, and then the entire kingdom is lost. They should not do things with any wishes or any attachment in mind. they have to do their duty without bringing result into the mind, without bringing wishes into the mind, without bringing aspirations, because ultimately these aspirations, which give rise to affections, which give rise to a number of vices, drag a person from the results he wants to achieve in life. All of these internal vices prevent a person from achieving freedom, achieving the real brahmacharya, because brahmacharya is not something that can be achieved through a vow of celibacy. It is a feeling, just like day comes, just like night comes, it's a cycle, just like the seasons come, just like a piano is there where various notes are playing, a, a low note comes, then a high note comes. It cannot be that life goes on a single two or three low notes, then it would become very much sad. It would become very much pathetic. The music would not sound as colorful to a person. No one would like to listen to such music where only the low notes are playing, like two, three tones, and they have put a block on the high notes. And it would become more of a horror tune. Just like when you see a horror movie, then some peculiar low notes start coming, so that kind of life becomes. So, a person who has taken the vows of celibacy, who has taken extreme renunciation, who has renounced everything, who has given away all his possessions, who has given away everything. So, man has perceived various religions incorrectly. So, that's what Mahabharata teaches you. But it teaches you in such a way that there is a tale within a tale, a tale within a tale, and so much it goes inside that people are not able to understand it, because people have not understood the religions. When Mahavira says to let go of everything and to let go of everything, the people let go of their clothes, the people let go of their finances, the people let go of their belongings, the people let go of their relations. But what if Mahavira implied that let go of the vices inside your mind? What if people misunderstood? What if it was implied that you have to get your mind empty? You have to get all of your 1000 enemies subsided, and no one knows, because do an example. There is a room full of children, and the game is that the one child says something, whispers something into the ear of another child, and that child must whisper to another child, and like that, when the information reaches the last child, then something unique and different has come out. And if we compare the what the first person said to the second child, and then when the information reaches the 100th child, the information that was conveyed to the second child by the first is completely different as to what 100th child is saying. So Mahabharata illustrates this extremely beautifully in a very huge poem, which would relate to those times, which would relate to the princes, which would relate to as to how the princes should carry on their business, how they should lead their lives, how they should think, how they should not do some things, and what can hurt them later on. And with stories he has told, with various stories interconnected together, so he has tried to explain his wisdom. And it's a very huge poem, so l- that and you can infer about anything, like whoever wants to infer, he can infer whatever he wants to infer, because it's a very visual kind of a poem. And from the same picture a person can infer one thing, another person can infer another thing, and lot of people have tried to uh, infer this in their own way. And the cultural influence of this has been huge. So what do we see here? We see it relates to Hinduism, and at that time, like I said, people were still trying to search God. They were afraid of God, and in various branches, religion went on evolving, and many of the initial wisdom which was there, that I believe, is that it got changed. So that's what when I saw Mahabharata on the television, when I saw it, I perceived that what Vyasa is trying to elaborate is that see your life as complete. Connect with God, and you will connect with God once you have become a master of your internal vices. Once you have mastered over your senses, once you have mastered over your anger, over your greed, over your attachment, okay, over your laziness. So, and I really doubt like anyone can read the entire Mahabharata who is a Westerner, and I believe there would be very few people who would have actually read the complete translated one. But if they read it, they will understand what I am trying to convey through this talk, through this discussion. And with this, I am going to stop recording, and do go over this. And there are a lot of translations of this work. Let's just look over here. So there is a Bengali translation, there is this Persian translation title Terazmane, then English translation was the Victorian prose by Kesari Mohan Ganguly. Then Indian Vedic scholar Sri Padamudar Satvilkar translated uh, this critical edition of Mahabharata into Hindi. Indian economist. So, a lot of translations that you are seeing, and maybe some condensed version you can go and study, but you will understand what is trying to be conveyed, because whatever technology is shown in that time cannot be real, and whatever manifestations are shown, that I can relate to as more internally rather than externally. So I'm going to stop this video. Okay, so there is a Jain version also. Jain versions of Mahabharata can be found in various Jain texts like Harevam Sampurna. The main battle is not Mahabharata but the fight between Krishna and Jarasandha, who is killed as Pratisuf are killed by Vasudeva. Ultimately, the Pandavas and Balramas take renunciation as Jain monks and are reborn in heavens, while on the other hand, Krishna and Jarasandha are reborn in hell. In keeping with the law of karma, Jarasandha, for his evil ways, because of his, the Jain authors were keen to rehabilitate Krishna. The Jain texts predict that after his karmic term and the hell is over, sometime during the next half-time cycle, Krishna will be reborn as a Jain Tirthankara and attain liberation. So basically, you see that whoever is seeing this is trying to fit the story according to what they want to procreate, what they want to go forward in, like how Jainism could be propagated. So it has influenced a lot of cultures, it has influenced a lot of people over the ages, a lot of generations, and I too need to go over this in detail because a lot of points are not very much clear to me. And maybe I will come out with another talk where I talk about like some secrets, some other secrets of Mahabharata and what is intended. And with this, I'm going to stop this recording.